The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of alien species filled the curved seats that rose up like a massive bowl. Lights flickered from translation devices as creatures of every shape and size talked among themselves. Some had scales, others had fur. Some floated in containment fields filled with strange gases. At the center of it all stood Captain and his small team of 5 human soldiers. Kept his face calm, but his hand rested near his sidearm out of habit. Behind him stood lieutenant, sergeant, corporal, and private. They wore their military uniforms, clean and pressed, weapons visible at their sides. They had come to represent Earth, to ask for membership in the Galactic Coalition. Ambassador, an insect-like creature with multiple eyes and clicking mandibles, began the presentation. His voice came through the translators as smooth and professional. Members of the Coalition, I present to you the species from planet Earth. Humans, they call themselves. They have achieved faster-than-light travel and wish to join our alliance. A holographic display appeared above the center of the chamber. It showed Earth, spinning slowly in space. Blue and green and white. Beautiful thought. Then the display shifted to show human cities, human technology, human weapons. That was when the laughter started. It began as a few chuckles from the upper seats. Then more joined in. Within seconds, the entire chamber echoed with alien laughter. Some species made sounds like barking. Others produced high-pitched whistles. The creatures clicked their mandibles rapidly. But it was all laughter, all mockery. Felt his jaw tighten. Beside him's massive frame went rigid. Placed a gentle hand on her weapon, not threatening, just ready. Stayed perfectly still, her eyes scanning the crowd. Only Young seemed nervous, his fingers twitching near his tablet. Silence, Ambassador called out, though he seemed amused himself. Please, allow me to finish the presentation. The laughter died down to giggles and whispers. The display continued, showing human military forces. Tanks, jets, ships, soldiers. Compared to the massive war machines of the galaxy, they looked like toys. A reptilian creature in gleaming armor stood up from his seat near the top. He was massive, with scales that shimmered like metal and eyes that glowed yellow. His voice boomed across the chamber without need for translation. This is amusing, Ambassador. You bring us soft-skinned creatures from a death world, and they think they are warriors. More laughter erupted. The reptilian creature, who learned was High Commander, continued speaking. Look at them. No natural armor, no claws, no venom, no strength beyond the pathetic. They come from a planet that tries to kill them every day, yet somehow they survived. But survival is not strength. Commander said calmly, stepping forward. His voice was quiet, but it cut through the noise. We did not come here to prove our strength. We came to offer our friendship. This brought fresh waves of laughter. Eyes fixed on with something like pity. Friendship. Small human, the galaxy does not give friendship to the weak. It gives them mercy if they are lucky. Another alien stood up, this one covered in thick fur with 4 arms. Commander is correct. We have standards for membership. Species must prove they can defend themselves and contribute to the coalition's military strength. Your weapons are primitive. Your soldiers are fragile. What could you possibly offer us? Looked at his team, gave him the smallest nod. They had expected this. Cracked his knuckles quietly. Eyes were cold and calculating, had stopped being nervous and now looked focused. We offer what we have always offered, said. The will to survive, the ability to adapt, and the determination to never give up. Laughed again, and this time it was cruel. Determination, will, these are words, human. Let me offer you something instead. A test. We have war games that all species must pass to join the coalition. Combat training on Planet 9. It is lethal, I must warn you. Many species have failed. Some have died trying. The chamber went quiet. This was serious now. The war games were legendary throughout the galaxy. They were designed to test warriors in the harshest conditions, against the best fighters the coalition could provide. You would send 5 humans against our trained warriors, Ambassador asked, his voice uncertain. That seems excessive, Commander. 50 warriors, said with a sharp smile. 5 humans against 50 of our finest. Standard war games. If they survive 5 days, they pass. If they can eliminate even half of our warriors, we grant them provisional membership. Fair terms, are they not? From the lower seats, another voice spoke up. It was older, more measured. An alien that looked like a mixture of a bear and a lizard stood up slowly. Commander, I must protest. I have studied this species. Their history is concerning. Perhaps we should. General interrupted. Your concerns are noted, but look at them. 5 small creatures who think they are soldiers. This will be educational for them. Perhaps then they will understand their place in the galaxy. Felt a cold anger settle in his chest. Not the hot, raging kind. The cold kind that made you sharp and focused. He had felt this before in Earth's wars, in the conflicts that had nearly destroyed humanity before they united. He knew this feeling well. We accept, said clearly. His team did not flinch. They had trained together for years. They trusted each other completely. If said they would do this, they would do it. The chamber erupted in noise again. Some aliens cheered. Others placed bets. A few, like General, looked worried, but most just laughed and talked about how entertaining this would be. Excellent, said, clearly pleased with himself. You have 1 week to prepare. Then we meet on 9. Try not to die too quickly, humans. The galaxy is watching and we want a good show. The council session ended. As the aliens filed out, still laughing and chattering, and his team stood in the center of the empty floor. Above them, the holographic display of Earth still rotated slowly. Captain said quietly, they have no idea what they just did. No, agreed, they don't. Grunted, 50 against 5. They really think those are bad odds for us. They've never fought humans before, added, her voice soft and dangerous. They don't know what we're capable of. Was already pulling up data on his tablet. I'm hacking their war games records now, sir. I want to see what we're facing. Looked up at the image of Earth one last time before they left. Home. The planet that had forged humanity through ice ages and plagues, through wars and disasters. The planet that had taught them to hunt, to fight, to survive no matter what. Let them laugh, said. In 1 week we'll teach the galaxy something important. What's that, sir? Asked. Smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator who had just been challenged. We'll teach them why you should never underestimate a species that turned a death world into a home. We'll show them what humans do when someone threatens us. And when we're done, they'll wish they had just given us that membership. The team left the council chamber together. Behind them, the lights dimmed. Above, through the massive windows, stars twinkled in the darkness. And somewhere out there, on a jungle planet called 9, 50 alien warriors were preparing for what they thought would be an easy victory. They had no idea that in 1 week, everything they knew about war would change forever. The jungle was hot and thick with moisture. Every breath felt heavy. Insects the size of small dogs buzzed through the air. Plants with sharp thorns covered every surface. 9 was designed to be hell for soldiers, and it succeeded perfectly. Crouched behind a massive tree root watching through his scope, 1 week had passed. The preparation time was over. Now the war games had begun. Somewhere in this jungle were 50 alien warriors, all trained killers from different species. And somewhere else were his 4 teammates, spread out across the terrain. His earpiece crackled. Target spotted, whispered. 3 hunters moving east, big ones, looks like warriors. Copy that, replied quietly. Let them pass, you in position. Always am, boss, came's deep voice. Got the surprise ready. Above the planet, in massive viewing stations, millions of aliens watched. The games were being broadcast across the entire galaxy. Screens showed different camera angles from drones flying overhead. Most aliens were eating snacks and making jokes. They expected this to be over quickly. Humans versus trained warriors. It would be a massacre, they thought. The three warriors moved through the jungle like ghosts despite their size. Each stood over 7 feet tall, covered in thick armor-like skin. They carried plasma weapons that could melt through steel. Their eyes could see heat signatures. They were perfect hunters. But was better. She moved through the trees without making a sound. Her small frame was an advantage here. She had painted her face and gear with mud, breaking up her outline. They were looking for heat signatures, so she had cooled her suit using the planet's cold underground streams. To their advanced eyes, she was just another part of the jungle. They walked right past her hiding spot. She waited, counting seconds. Then, now, she whispered into her comm. The ground exploded beneath the last, not with fire but with a net that wrapped around him and pumped him full of electricity. The warrior dropped, convulsing. The other two spun around, weapons raised, but was already gone. What happened? One shouted in his own language. The translator in his helmet turned it to Coalition Standard. Where did it come from? Trap, the other one yelled. The humans set a trap. Since when do warriors use? He never finished. His bullet caught him in the center mass. This armor saved his life, but the impact knocked him off his feet. Before he could recover, another shot hit his weapon, destroying it. The game's rules said a warrior without a weapon was eliminated. The third fired blindly into the jungle. Plasma bolts burned through trees and vines. "Show yourselves," he roared. "Fight with honor." "Honor?" His voice came from the jungle, but from a different direction. The spun toward it. "You have 50 warriors, we have 5. Where's the honor in that?" Another explosion. This time it was a smoke grenade. Thick black smoke filled the area. This heat vision became useless. Everything was hot from the burning smoke. He fired again and again, panic creeping into his movements. Then he felt cold metal against his neck, had circled back, silent as death. "You're eliminated," she said softly and pressed the button on the shock device. The warrior dropped. 3 down in the first hour. In the viewing stations, the laughter had stopped. Aliens stared at their screens in silence. On one display was already moving to her next position. On another was packing up his sniper rifle. On a third was setting up more traps along likely patrol routes. "This is not possible," someone in the viewing station said. "They are using ambush tactics. That is not honorable combat." General, watching from his own private screen, nodded slowly. "No," he said to himself. "It is not honorable. It is effective. I tried to warn them." The hours passed. The alien warriors began grouping together for safety. If humans would not fight honorably, they would use their superior numbers. 15 warriors moved as a single unit, weapons ready, watching all directions. But they never looked up. Sat in a tree, his tablet glowing softly. He had hacked into their communication network hours ago. It was surprisingly easy. The aliens used military-grade encryption, but they never expected anyone to attack from the digital side during physical combat. Blue Team Leader said, mimicking the alien commander's voice through his computer. "New orders. Red Team is under attack. Move to coordinates 440-5887. Quickly." The 15 warriors changed direction immediately, running toward the coordinates. They ran right into a kill zone that had prepared. The big man had spent hours moving alien equipment from their eliminated warriors. He set up their own weapons, pointing at a narrow valley. When the 15 warriors ran through, he triggered them all at once. The alien weapons fired on their own warriors. Confusion and chaos erupted. Warriors dove for cover. Some fired back at what they thought were enemies. The smoke and noise and panic did more damage than the actual weapons. When it cleared, 12 more warriors were eliminated. Only 3 escaped, running in different directions out of pure fear. 12 hours in, said into his comm. Current count, 18 eliminated, 32 remaining. Good work, everyone. Now they will change tactics. Be ready. He was right. The remaining 32 warriors stopped trying to hunt the humans. Instead, they built a defensive position near the center of the jungle. They had high ground, clear sight lines, and superior firepower. Let the humans come to them. But humans did not come. Night fell on 9. The alien warriors set up watch rotations. Some slept while others guarded. This was standard military procedure across the galaxy. You could not fight without rest. But the humans did not rest. At midnight, speakers hidden in the jungle began playing sounds. Alien death screams, messages in their own languages. You cannot sleep forever. We are watching. We are waiting. We will be patient. His voice, altered and distorted, echoed through the night. You are tired. We are not. You need rest. We do not. This is what we were made for. This is what we are. The alien warriors tried to ignore it, but the sounds continued. Every hour something different, sometimes screams, sometimes laughter, sometimes just counting. 18 down, 32 to go, 17 down, 33 to go. By dawn, the aliens were exhausted and jumpy. They had barely slept. Every sound in the jungle made them point their weapons. They fired at shadows. They argued with each other. This is not combat, one warrior shouted. This is torture. Watching from a hidden position, spoke softly into his calm. Day 2 begins. They are broken already. They just do not know it yet. Want me to take some more shots? Asked. He had moved position 3 times during the night, always staying distant, never giving them a real target. Not yet, said. Let them sit there. Let them think. Let them understand what it means to be hunted by humans. On the viewing screens across the galaxy, billions of aliens watched in growing horror. This was not a war game anymore. This was a demonstration. The humans were not trying to win. They were trying to teach a lesson. And the galaxy was learning. High Commander sat in his command chair, his confident smile long gone. On his screen, one of the alien warriors was crying. An actual warrior from his own species, reduced to tears by 5 humans who refused to fight properly. General, said quietly into his calm, perhaps you could share your research on humanity now. His old voice came back tired. I tried to tell you, Commander, I studied their history. They have fought wars that lasted decades. They have hunted animals faster and stronger than themselves until those animals died from exhaustion. They do not know how to give up. They do not understand the concept of honorable defeat. They only understand survival. Watched as another warrior was eliminated, dragged into the jungle by Sergeant in brutal close combat. What have we done? He whispered. You laughed at them, replied. And now they are going to make sure you never laugh at humanity again. Day 3 on 9 started with rain. Heavy, pounding rain that turned the jungle floor into mud and made visibility almost zero. For the remaining 15 alien warriors, it should have been a relief. Rain would hide their heat signatures, muffle sounds, give them cover. But it also hid the humans. General stood in the Coalition Command Center, surrounded by holographic displays. Each screen showed different aspects of the war games, but he was not watching the battlefield anymore. He was giving a presentation to the Coalition leadership, and none of them were laughing now. This is footage from what humans call World War II, said. The display showed black and white images of human cities in ruins. In just 6 years, this conflict killed over 70 million humans. That is more than the total population of 12 coalition member species combined. The assembled leaders watched in silence. High Commander sat at the front, his yellow eyes fixed on the screen. Continued. They used weapons that could level entire cities in seconds, chemical weapons that made lungs bleed. They fought in frozen wastelands where the temperature could kill in minutes. They fought on beaches under constant fire. They fought in cities, going door to door, room to room. And when it was over, they looked at what they had done and promised to never do it again. And did they keep that promise? Someone asked. Change the display. No. Since then they have fought dozens of smaller wars, conflicts that lasted years, sometimes decades. They have refined their skills in jungle warfare, urban warfare, guerrilla tactics, and psychological operations. Every generation of humans has fought in some conflict. War is not something they read about in their history. It is something they live. Another display appeared showing human anatomy. Look at them physically. They have stamina beyond almost any species in the galaxy. They can run for hours without stopping. Their bodies produce chemicals that let them ignore pain when necessary. They can survive injuries that would kill most of us. They heal fast. They adapt faster. Finally spoke, why did we not know this? Because you did not look, said simply. You saw soft skin and weak bodies. You saw a species without natural weapons. You assumed they were prey. But humans are not prey, Commander. They are apex predators. They just do not look like it until it is too late. On another screen, the live feed from 9 showed Corporal moving through the rain like a ghost. She found an alien warrior taking shelter under a rock formation. The warrior never saw her coming. One quick strike to a pressure point and he was unconscious. Eliminated. 14 remaining. His voice came through the comm channel that the entire galaxy could hear now. The humans were not hiding anymore. They wanted the aliens to hear them. We will accept surrender if you wish. You have fought well. No shame in stopping now. But the alien warriors did not respond. They could not. The rules of the war games were clear. Once started, they could not stop until one side was eliminated or 5 days passed, and it had only been 3 days. Back in the command center, pulled up more files. Let me show you something specific. Humans have a concept they call total war. It means that everything becomes a weapon, everything becomes a target. They do not just fight armies, they fight entire civilizations if they must. The display showed human strategic bombing campaigns, supply lines destroyed, resources, civilian infrastructure targeted. They understand something that we have forgotten in our civilized warfare. They understand that war is not about honor or glory. War is about making the enemy stop fighting, and they are very, very good at it. An ambassador from an aquatic species raised a tentacle. But surely the coalition has warriors who can match human tactics. Surely we can learn their methods. Turn to face the assembly. Can you learn to ignore pain? Can you learn to go days without sleep? Can you learn to turn every object around you into a weapon? Can you learn to hunt something for so long that its heart explodes from exhaustion? These are not taught skills. These are adaptations from surviving on a death world for millions of years. The rain on 9 stopped as suddenly as it started, stood on a ridge, looking down at where the alien warriors had gathered. They were in a tight defensive circle now, backs together, weapons pointing out in all directions. They looked terrified. Said into his comm, "Can you get me a direct line to their commander?" "Already done, Captain," the young man replied. "You are live in 3, 2, 1. Spoke clearly. "Commander of the alien forces, this is Captain of Earth. I want you to know something. This is not your fault. You were trained well, you followed your tactics, you did everything right, but you were trained to fight other civilized species. You were trained for honor combat. You were not trained to fight humans." Inside the defensive circle, the alien commander trembled. His name was Al, a decorated officer who had won many battles, but never anything like this. Never against an enemy that refused to fight fairly, that struck from nowhere, that never stopped hunting. Continued. "Your leaders laughed at us. They thought we were weak. They thought 5 humans could not stand against 50 trained warriors, but they did not understand. We humans, we evolved by being the weaker species. Everything on our planet was stronger than us, faster than us, better armed than us. So we learned to cheat. We learned to be smarter. We learned to never give up. We learned that there is no such thing as a fair fight when survival is on the line." Al activated his own calm, his voice shaking. "You are monsters. This is not war. This is slaughter." "No," said, and his voice was cold. "Slaughter is what happens when you are not ready. Slaughter is what happens when you underestimate your enemy. We are teaching you a lesson. We are showing your entire galaxy what humans can do when pushed. And trust me, Commander, we are being gentle right now." "Gentle?" Al almost screamed. "You call this gentle?" "Yes," replied, "because we have weapons that could end this in seconds. Weapons that could eliminate all of you without us ever seeing you. Weapons that could poison this entire planet. But we are not using them. We are using basic tactics, basic equipment, basic human skills, and you are still losing." In the command center, the coalition leaders were silent. On the screens, they could see moving into position, his massive frame somehow invisible in the jungle. They could see preparing another trap. They could see circling around for another elimination. They could see hacking deeper into the alien systems, feeding them false sensor readings. And they could see Captain standing on that ridge, looking down at the warriors he was hunting, looking like exactly what he was, a human, an apex predator from a death world, the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. "I offer you one chance," said. "Send a message to your coalition leaders. Tell them to stop the games early. Tell them humanity has proven its point. Tell them we are willing to accept membership and move forward. But if they refuse, if they make us continue for the full 5 days, then we will show no more mercy. We will show them what total war looks like." Al looked at his remaining warriors. Some were injured. All were exhausted. They had been fighting for 3 days against an enemy they could not see, could not predict, could not defeat. He made his decision. "Coalition Command," he said into his comm. "This is Commander Al. I am requesting emergency termination of the war games under Crisis Protocol 7. The enemy has demonstrated overwhelming tactical superiority. Further combat serves no training purpose and only risks permanent injury to coalition warriors." A long silence followed. Then's voice came through and it sounded very tired. "Request, Commander. The rules state 5 days. You have 2 more days to complete." Al's weapon dropped from his hands. Several of his warriors made sounds of despair. 2 more days. 48 more hours of being hunted by humans who never stopped, never slept, never showed mercy. But then another voice came through the comm. Ambassador, who had first introduced humans to the galaxy. "Commander, I am invoking emergency council session under first contact protocols. These humans are not a species we can treat with normal procedures. I formally request that we end these games and discuss immediate full membership for humanity." "That is not your authority," said. "Then I call for a vote," replied. "All council members, state your position now. Do we continue to humiliate ourselves by forcing warriors to fight an unwinnable battle, or do we accept that we made a mistake and correct it?" Votes came in rapidly. Species after species voted to end the games. The galaxy had seen enough. They understood now. Humans were not something you tested. Humans were something you respected immediately. The final vote passed, had no choice. War games on 9 are officially terminated. All warriors stand down. Human team, you have won. Report to extraction. Smiled, and for the first time in 3 days it was a real smile. "Copy that, command. Team, we are done here. Good work, everyone." As transport ships descended to pick up the exhausted alien warriors and the barely tired human team, the galaxy watched and learned. They had laughed at humanity once. They would never make that mistake again. The medical bay on the coalition station was quiet, sat on an examination table while a robotic arm scanned his body. The doctor, a floating jellyfish-like creature, made concerned sounds through its translator. "You have been awake for 73 hours, the doctor said. "Your body shows signs of extreme stress. How are you even conscious?" "Practice," replied simply. "How are the others?" "All healthy, disturbingly so. The big one, he has injuries that should have slowed him down. Broken ribs from a fall, we think. He never mentioned it, just kept fighting. Nodded, that sounded like, can I go now? I suppose, the doctor said, sounding defeated, though I recommend at least 20 hours of rest. I will think about it, said, knowing he would not. There was too much to do. Humanity had proven itself in combat, but now came the harder part. Politics, negotiations, figuring out where humans fit in this galactic civilization. He was walking through the station corridors when alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed. His hand went to his weapon automatically, muscle memory from years of training. All personnel to emergency stations, a voice announced. Code Black, repeat Code Black. Had learned enough about coalition protocols to know what Code Black meant. It was the highest level of military alert. It meant the coalition was under attack. He ran toward the command center. Guards tried to stop him, but he showed his new credentials. Provisional member species had access during emergencies. The doors opened and he stepped into chaos. The command center was filled with screaming aliens. Holographic displays showed dozens of star systems, and in those systems, red markers like a spreading infection. General saw him enter. Human, good, you should see this. See what? Asked. Pulled up a display. It showed a world covered in what looked like insects, billions of them crawling over every surface, stripping everything. Buildings fell, trees disappeared, the ground itself seemed to be consumed. This was the colony world of 5, said. Population 4 billion. This footage is from 6 days ago. Now watch. The video fast-forwarded. In just hours, the planet went from green and blue to gray and brown. The insects consumed everything, every plant, every animal, every structure. When they were done, they moved to the next planet like a cloud. What are they? Asked, his tactical mind already analyzing the threat. We call them the swarm, said, a hive-mind species from beyond the outer rim. They have been expanding for months, but we thought we could contain them. We were wrong. More displays appeared, showing coalition fleets engaging the battles were not close. For every killed, 1,000 more appeared. Ships were overwhelmed. Marines were consumed. Entire fleets disappeared under waves of the creatures. How many worlds have they taken? Asked. 17 confirmed. Another 30 are under attack. Our projections say if we cannot stop them in the next month, the entire outer rim will fall. After that, the core worlds. High Commander appeared on a nearby screen. He looked like he had aged years in the past few days. General, what are our options? Limited Commander. The do not fear death. They operate as a perfect collective. Our traditional tactics are useless. We try to hold defensive lines, they simply overwhelm us with numbers. We try surgical strikes on their leaders, but they do not have leaders. Every is the swarm. Kill 1 million and it does not slow them down. Noticed, the two locked eyes. The commander who had laughed at humanity just days ago now looked at with something different, something like hope. Human said, you have proven you can fight. Can you fight this? Studied the displays for a long moment. His team appeared in the command center, drawn by the alarms. Immediately began analyzing the tactical data. Watched the battle footage with narrowed eyes. Studied the movement patterns. Was already trying to hack into captured communication signals. Maybe, said finally, but not the way you have been fighting them. What do you mean? Asked. Spoke up, her voice cold and analytical. You are treating them like an army. They are not an army. They are a plague. You are trying to defeat them in honorable combat, but plagues are not defeated with honor. They are defeated with whatever works. Ambassador, who had been listening, moved closer. What are you suggesting? Looked at his team. They all nodded. They understood what needed to be done. We suggest total war, complete mobilization, every weapon, every tactic, no rules, no honor, just survival. The command center went silent, finally spoke, explain. pulled up a display of a controlled world. They consume all organic matter for fuel and reproduction, so we deny them that fuel. We burn the forests, we poison the water, we irradiate the soil, we make every planet they take useless to them. That is barbaric, someone shouted. Those are living worlds. Those are dead worlds already, said. They consume them anyway. We are just making sure they starve after. Pointed to another display. They travel in ships that are basically hives, packed tight, perfect targets for biological weapons. Create a virus that attacks their specific biology, release it, let it spread through their swarm. We do not use biological warfare, said, but his voice was uncertain. It is forbidden by coalition law. Coalition law was written for fighting other civilized species, added. They are not civilized, they are insects, dangerous insects. You kill insects with poison. Spoke quietly. You are thinking about morality while they consume your worlds. You are worried about honor while they eat your people. Humans learned a long time ago that survival is more important than being right. The command center filled with arguments. Some aliens were horrified by the suggestions. Others were desperate enough to consider anything. The debate raged for hours. Finally, General held up a claw for silence. Let me be clear about something. If we follow human tactics, many of us will be uncomfortable. We will do things that violate our sense of honor. We will use weapons we swore never to use. We will fight in ways that shame us, but if we do not, we will all die. They do not care about our honor. They only care about consuming and spreading. Closed his eyes. When he opened them, he looked directly at. If we give you command of the outer rim defense, can you stop them? I cannot promise that, said honestly. But I can promise we will fight with everything we have. We will use every advantage. We will be ruthless and efficient and absolutely dedicated to winning. And we will not stop until either they are gone or we are. That is not very encouraging, Ambassador said. No, agreed. But it is honest. War is not encouraging. War is ugly and brutal and horrible. But sometimes it is necessary. You asked if we could help. We can, but you have to let us do it our way. Another long silence, then spoke. Very well. I am granting Earth Emergency Command authority for Outer Rim operations. Captain, you are promoted to General of Coalition Forces in this sector. Assemble whatever team you need. Use whatever tactics you must. Just stop them. Saluted. Understood, Commander. I need to make one request. What is it? I need human soldiers, 10,000 of them. Our military back on Earth is ready to deploy. Give me transport ships in 1 week, and I will bring you an army that knows how to fight total war. Did not hesitate. Granted. General, coordinate with Earth Command. Get those humans here as fast as possible. As the meeting broke up and everyone rushed to their positions, stood looking at the displays. The red markers of infection spread across the map like blood in water. Somewhere out there, trillions of creatures were consuming everything in their path. Stood beside him. This is going to be worse than anything we did on 9. I know, said. People will hate us for what we have to do. I know that too. But we will do it anyway. Nodded, because humans understand something the rest of the galaxy forgot. We understand that sometimes being the monster is the only way to stop a bigger monster. Joined them followed by End. The team stood together, looking at the impossible task ahead of them. Remember when they laughed at us, said, that was nice, simple. They are not laughing now, replied. No, agreed. Now they are hopping. We can save them, and we will, no matter what it costs, no matter what we have to become, we will save them. The team separated to begin preparations. In 1 week, 10,000 human soldiers would arrive, and then the galaxy would see what humanity truly meant by war. The transport ships from Earth arrived exactly 1 week later. They were not the prettiest ships in the galaxy. They were converted cargo vessels, military transports, and old colony ships that humanity had rebuilt for war. But they carried 10,000 human soldiers, and that was all that mattered. Generals stood on the observation deck of the Coalition command station, watching the fleet arrive. Each ship bore the flag of Earth, a blue and green planet on a black field. Simple, direct, human. Behind him and watched the same display. They came quickly, observed. Humans are always ready for war, said. We learned to be. Our entire history taught us that peace is just the time between conflicts, so we stay prepared. The first transport docked. Soldiers began disembarking. Coalition personnel stopped to stare. The humans looked so small compared to many alien species. No natural armor, no claws, no enhanced strength. Just soldiers in basic gear, carrying weapons that seemed almost primitive compared to advanced plasma technology. But something about them made the aliens nervous. Maybe it was how they moved, efficient and coordinated. Maybe it was the look in their eyes, focused and determined. Or maybe it was simply knowing what these creatures were capable of after seeing what 5 of them did to 50 trained warriors. Colonel Menu, commander of the Earth forces, saluted. He was a veteran of Earth's brush wars and experienced. Sir, 10,000 soldiers reporting for duty. We brought what you asked for. Show me, said. They walked through the cargo bays. Crate after crate was being unloaded. Chemical weapons, biological agents, radiation bombs, thermobaric explosives, cyber warfare equipment, toxins, poisons, everything humanity had developed during centuries of finding new ways to kill. An alien medical officer watching the unloading turned pale. This is a collection of nightmares. No, Minu said calmly. This is a collection of solutions. Every one of these weapons was created because we needed it to survive. Now the galaxy needs them to survive. The offensive began 3 days later. The first target was Planet 7, recently taken by the billions of the creatures covered the surface, consuming everything, preparing to launch toward the next system. The human plan was simple. 10 ships approached the planet. They did not engage directly. Instead, they released canisters into the atmosphere. The canisters broke apart, spreading a fine mist across the planet. In the command center, aliens watched nervously. What was in those canisters? Someone asked. A modified virus, explained. He had helped design it. It attacks the respiratory system, spreads through contact. Incubation period of 6 hours, then symptoms begin. Death within 12 hours. The virus dies after 72 hours, so it will not spread to other planets. That is biological warfare. An ambassador protested weakly. Yes, agreed, it is. The footage showed on the planet's surface. At first, nothing changed. They continued consuming, building, spreading. Then 6 hours after exposure, they began to slow down. Their movements became erratic. They started collapsing by the thousands, then millions, then billions. Within a day, 7 was silent. Every was dead. The planet was saved, though it would take decades to recover from what both the and the virus had done. But the humans were not done. Lieutenant led a different operation on the supply lines. The swarm needed to eat constantly to maintain their numbers. They established feeding routes between conquered worlds, identified these routes and set traps. Not traditional traps, human traps. The ships traveled through specific jump points. At each jump point, the humans placed mines. But these were not explosive mines. These were contamination mines. When a ship passed, the mine attached and released nanobots that infected the ship's organic structure. The ship itself became poison to the inside. Ship after ship arrived at controlled worlds, but instead of reinforcements, they carried death. They could not understand what was happening. Their hive mind had no concept of disease or poison. They only knew that their ships were killing them. Sergeant commanded the ground operations. When they established a new hive on a conquered world, teams would infiltrate. Not to fight them directly, that would be suicide. Instead, they planted devices in the hive's foundation. Devices that generated specific sound frequencies, frequencies that disrupted the neural communication. The hive mind began to break apart. Individual, disconnected from the swarm, became confused and aggressive. They attacked each other. The hive collapsed from within. "This is cruel," an observer said, watching footage of tearing each other apart. "No," replied. "Cruel would be letting them consume more planets. This is efficient." Week after week, the human campaign continued. They used radiation to make planets uninhabitable they poisoned water sources. They created fake hive signals that lured the swarm into dead-end systems. They hacked ships and sent them crashing into other positions. Every tactic was designed not just to kill, but to deny them resources, to spread fear, even though they did not truly feel fear as individuals, to make every action they took uncertain, to turn their own biology and hive mind into weaknesses. The galaxy watched in horror and awe. This was not war as they knew it. This was extermination. This was humanity treating them exactly like the plague they were and using every tool available to stop them. General monitored the results. In 3 months, the human tactics have eliminated 40% of the presence. Our own forces, fighting for 6 months before, only managed 12%. They are winning. "At what cost?" asked quietly. "At the cost of our comfort," replied. "At the cost of our sense of honor, but not at the cost of our survival. The humans are saving us, Commander. We just do not like how they are doing it." The final battle happened at Prime, the system where the swarm had first entered Coalition space. It was their primary staging area, home to trillions of and their largest hives. The Coalition expected the humans to use the same tactics, poison, disease, disruption, but had a different plan. "We are going to do something humans rarely do," he announced to the assembled commanders. "We are going to offer peace." Peace was confused. They cannot negotiate. They are a hive mind driven only to consume. "I know," said, "but we are going to make them understand that continuing is more costly than stopping." The human fleet approached Prime, but instead of attacking, they broadcast a message, not in words, in actions. They demonstrated what they were capable of. They showed recordings of every world they had destroyed, every tactic they had used, every way they had turned their own biology against them. Then they released one canister, just one. It contained a modified version of the virus they had used before. This one was not lethal. It was a marker. It infected and made them glow with a specific radiation signature. Within hours, every in the system glowed. They could be tracked anywhere, targeted individually. There was no hiding. The message was clear. The humans could kill every whenever they wanted, but they were offering a choice. Leave Coalition space, return to the outer darkness, live, or stay and face complete annihilation. The hive mind, for the first time in its existence, felt something like self-preservation. These creatures, these humans, had weapons that could end the entire swarm, not just defeat it, end it completely. They began to retreat, slowly at first, then faster. Within weeks, they had abandoned Coalition space entirely. They had learned what the galaxy was learning, that humans were not to be challenged. Not because humans were the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced, but because humans would do absolutely anything to win. The war was over. The victory celebration on the Coalition station was massive. Species from across the galaxy gathered to honor the humans who had saved them. Music played, lights flashed, drinks flowed. But his team stood apart, watching from a balcony. They were heroes, but they did not feel like heroes. They felt tired. They felt the weight of what they had done. Ambassador approached them. "You should be celebrating. You saved us all." "We killed trillions of living creatures," said quietly. "Used weapons that should never exist. Did things that will haunt us forever." You did what was necessary, replied. That does not make it right, added, just necessary. Was silent for a moment, then he spoke again. When I first presented humanity to the council, everyone laughed. Do you remember? We remember, said. We laughed because you looked weak. We laughed because we thought we were superior. We laughed because we were fools. Looked out at the celebration. Now we understand. We understand that humanity is the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not because you are evil, but because you will do whatever it takes to survive. And now that we are your allies, that terrifying nature protects us too. The celebration continued below. High Commander approached with General. The commander looked at with an expression that mixed gratitude, respect, and fear. General, said formally, on behalf of the Galactic Coalition, I offer humanity full membership with immediate voting rights. I also offer my personal apology for how we treated you. We were wrong. About everything. Accepted the apology with a nod. We did what we came to do. We proved humans could defend themselves. We proved we could contribute to the coalition. And we proved that underestimating us is a fatal mistake. You proved more than that, said. You proved that sometimes survival requires monsters. And you proved that humans are willing to be those monsters so others do not have to be. The conversation was interrupted by young Corporal who had been watching the celebration. Sir, they are asking for us to speak, to say something to the galaxy. Looked at his team, who had created viruses that killed billions, who had infiltrated and destroyed hives, who had turned their own biology against them, who had planned operations that broke even the hive mind, and himself who had ordered all of it. What do we say? Asked. Thought for a long moment. Then he walked to the balcony rail where everyone could see him. The celebration quieted. Billions across the galaxy watched through broadcasts. People of the coalition began. You called us to fight, we fought. You needed us to use tactics you could not use. We used them. You asked us to save you. We did. But remember this day. Remember what we did to your enemies. Remember what humans are capable of when we go to war without limits. Remember and pray you never have to see us truly angry, because what we did to that was us being professional. That was us fighting your war with your approval. You do not want to see what happens when humans fight our own war for our own reasons. The crowd was silent. Then slowly applause began. Not celebratory applause, respectful applause, the applause you give to something powerful and dangerous that happens to be on your side. Stepped back from the rail. His team gathered around him. They had won. They had saved the galaxy. They had proven humanity's worth. But they had also shown the galaxy exactly what kind of species humanity was. Ambassador had one final observation as the team prepared to leave. You know what the strangest thing is? A few weeks ago, we laughed at you. Now we are terrified of you. But somehow, I think that is exactly what you wanted. Smiled, tired, and genuine. We did not want fear. We wanted respect. But we learned a long time ago that sometimes they are the same thing. Welcome to the age of humanity, Ambassador. The galaxy will never laugh at us again. And somewhere in the depths of space, in 1,000 different languages across 1,000,000 different worlds, the same message was being repeated. A warning, a promise, a new truth. Never underestimate the humans.